There's a difference between Kundalini awakening, Kundalini rising, chakra awakening, chakra cleansing, chakra blocks. And we're going to start this topic in relation to the heart chakra and a heart expansion and what it means when your Kundalini has awoken and it has arisen to your heart chakra. Before it can do this though, for it to safely move through the middle Sushumna Nadi, not through the Ida, not through the Pingala, and not through any of the other smaller meridians, the Sushumna has got to be absolutely clear. The Sushumna, if you like, it's the Merudanda. It is the axis of life. It is the axis that holds everything together. For that to be clear, not only are your chakras up and running, well, at least most of them, because you don't need all of them to be working in order for you to even sort of live half a full life. But the topic today is not about whether you can live fully in your abundance or half full, or you can still function having your full chakra system active or not. But it's about the difference between a Kundalini awakening rising and the difference between your chakras opening, cleansing, unblocking themselves. Now, very often when you're going through a spiritual awakening and you become aware of the subtle energy, you become aware of the subtle body, you become aware of the causal body, you become aware of the energetics of your existence at the very base level, the energetics, the mindset. You then also experience sudden changes within your body that you become aware of. You start to experience energy. You start to really feel energy. You start to experience energy of people, of places, of things, of food, of everything around you. And suddenly your world, from being a world that was a very gross physical reality, shifts into a world that is very much all about the interaction of energy. And as you understand the interaction of energy, you start to experience various expanded states of consciousness within you. Now, on one hand, we will have your consciousness being driven to clear itself as well as expand itself through the ambit of the kind of experiences that you're going to have, which are going to serve to expand all that consciousness knows of itself through its experience. And two, you're going to find that you will move towards a state of the pure consciousness without the experience, which is what causes it to widen its knowledge bank. Now, as you go through this, some of you will experience a Kundalini awakening, Kundalini rising, some of you won't, but there will be an overlap of things that you start to experience when your Kundalini reaches your heart and things that you start to experience when your heart chakra starts to become activated. There are very, very distinct yet overlapping experiences of the two things. When your chakra starts to become activated, one, you become aware of it, but preceding that, generally you will have had some sort of very big experience that is going to cause a shift so that you slip into the world of energy, so that you slip into a world that is beyond the physical, a world that is subtle. You start to experience matrices. You start to see things as energy, vibration, and frequency. Now, when your heart first begins to become activated, you move towards a place of love. Now, it isn't a love that is self-serving, petty self-serving, but it is a love that is serving the very essence of existence, the very essence of us. That love, it's an energy that is going to make us want to move towards a more expanded version of experiencing life than a contracted version. The first experience of that love will be you extending that love towards yourself. Now, this is where, when your heart starts to become activated, the very first sort of experiences you will have is of gratitude, kindness, benevolence. You will start to feel more compassionate towards other people. You will start to have a deeper understanding of people rather than accepting them at face value or accepting a situation. You will feel as though you're being more lenient, but actually you're not being more lenient. You're simply understanding the fabric behind existence. You will not be quick to jump at people, because remember, your focus will now shift from being very fear-based, because remember, you're fear-based solely because you're survival-based. You're survival-based because you identify your body as being a mechanism that is needed in order for you to survive, because survival basically depends on the operation of this body, making sure that we preserve this body because it is our vehicle, and it is, before this time, whatever we identify with, which is why a lot of us will identify with whatever we accumulate, our successes, our failures, our progeny, our material wealth and comfort, and everything that stands in the way of an expansion of our body. So an expansion of our body would be our home, it would be our family, it would be the lineage that we want to carry forward. Now, anything that stands in the way, we will battle with. But when your heart starts to become activated, you start to move into the realization that you had nothing to fear about. So rather than you working from a place of fear and survival, you will now start to develop your intuitive self. But before you develop your intuitive self, you're going to develop a concept of love. When you develop your concept of love, from it becoming a conceptualized version of love, you will unwrap it, unpick it, so that all you will ever experience is love. Now, love can be harsh, love can be cruel, love can be unkind, love can be everything that we want it to be, that we experience. But at this stage, when your heart chakra is activated, you start to become more compassionate towards animals, environment, trees, other people, old age. You start to really feel the pain of your fellow man. Whatever happens, anything that is happening, human suffering, you start to feel it. Whether you are impacted personally or directly by something or not, but you start to really feel all of these things. You start to really feel life. You start to get really involved in life when your heart chakra becomes activated. And this is when now, not only does it become activated, but it needs to declutter. When your heart chakra then, one, it starts to declutter. Two, you realize, goodness, I was never in my love essence. And when you're not in your love essence, what do? You start to work backwards into your timelines. You start to look at beliefs. You start to look at anything that is limiting. Now, a lot of you who are experiencing these activations, your heart becoming really expanded, you will also go through moments of, but I don't want to be a martyr, but just because I'm not all love and light, that you don't want to be trampled over. This is you now being still in transition, because we've not fully embodied that essence of love. Now, folks, park all of this on a side and let's go to the difference when your Kundalini not only awakens, but it now rises through the Sushumna Nadi into your heart. When this happens, by the time this happens, your heart as a chakra was already activated. You've pretty much emptied it of any gunk, any self-limiting beliefs, and you're pretty much living a life that is not out of survival. You are not scared that you won't survive. You're not scared of things, and you're able to work through the end of the fear to understand the consequence of whatever it is that you fear, and you realize, but I'm still going to find a way of not just surviving, but thriving. By the time this now hits the heart chakra, your compassion will extend beyond the self, beyond those around you, into a kind of compassion that can resonate with the pain, with the suffering of the collective as a whole, of universal consciousness as a whole. The feeling of love that you experience will not be limited to a people, a person, a country, a nation, or anything that is subjective, but everything that you experience in terms of love will be objective. You will be experiencing love from a very, very objective view, very neutral. And this is where the unconditionality of love kicks in, because love, if it's at its very core, of its very essence, is unconditional. You don't need to qualify it by putting that word in front of love to say unconditional, because love in its very, very nature is unconditional. And by the time you get to this stage, folks, you're going to be riding in a completely different way in terms of how you're going to be experiencing your life. You won't have to encourage yourself to be grateful or for life. There are a lot of things, heart chakra downward, that will have already been sorted, folks, right? So when your Kundalini is at your heart is going to be the bridge between your upper triangle and your lower triangle. And this is where you're very, very balanced in your spiritual and your material concept of you. And at this stage, folks, is when you're a mother to all, you're a father to all. You are in a very beautiful energy that exists and is happy to exist for the sake of everybody else. You step into servitude at this stage, folks. You step into, and a lot of you who have gotten to this stage are those of you who are now entering into servitude for all. And this is what we call Lok Kalyanam, which means you are existing for the upliftment of the entirety of not just humanity, of existence. You are there for all of this, and you're no longer gatekeeping anything, folks. Your wisdom flows very, very beautifully. Folks, hold on to part 2. Lots of love. See you soon.